In episode 1 of Training Like a Gymnast, I told you it takes time to develop the basics that are needed in order to do skills in gymnastics. And while I said that in episode 1, and I'm still saying it now, I too am still guilty of not developing the necessary basics of doing the current skills that I have. And that resulted in a step back. So let's take it back to last week. Last week I was trying to get my round off back handspring. Round off back handspring is one of those fundamental skills that are needed to do more powerful skills. But what happened was I went to some of my friends who have been gymnasts for a while and I asked them, hey, what are some drills I can do to start doing round off back handsprings, or get me there, per se. And they set up this drill where you basically do a round off and you try to over rotate onto your back. It was a pretty simple drill. After I attempted the drill, my friends were looking at me with just this, that look on their face of, man, you should not be doing this drill. And I got out of the foam pit and I asked them what's up, and they basically told me that I had many issues with my round off. So I looked at them and said, all right, let's fix it then. Come to find out, as I try to fix my round off, I had issues with my cartwheel. And if we fast forward to last practice, I actually have issues with simply getting into a handstand correctly. I realized that I had a lot of training to do that didn't involve the cool shit. I needed to hunker down and focus on some of the most basic things. So, in this past week, that's exactly what I did.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's time to introduce you guys to someone. This is John. Dude is responsible for teaching me about 90% of what I know about gymnastics.
What do you want? What are you doing?
Huh?
What are you doing? What do you want?
It's for my video. Don't like being on camera. Why not? Johnny boy. John doesn't like being on camera.
Flip that around then.
Huh?
Flip that around then.
No, I'll flip it around all day. If I could, let's see. There we go. Hey, Johnny.
What's up? So stupid. You bouncing?
Yeah. He is by far one of the most interesting people I know. And definitely the craziest. Which comes in handy when it comes to teaching gymnastics. Because John is really good at pushing you past your fears. The guy just loves the feeling of adrenaline, at least from what I've observed. But one thing about John is that he doesn't like drills that much. And sometimes he pushes a little too hard. which leads us into one of the days at practice. John pushed me a little too hard on vault when I was not ready for it. And vault is pretty scary for me, and the guys don't really train vault that much, so I don't have a lot of training in vault, pretty much no training in vault. And John wanted me to pretty much throw it going into it. Basically, you just do a front handspring off the vault board, and I was not ready for it. And I was very against it, and I was telling him, hey, can we just do a drill before we do this? And he kind of persuaded me, and I went for it. Felt ugly, was embarrassing, and I was pissed. I wanted to avoid that. I wanted to put the drill first, and I blamed him, and he wasn't the one to blame. It was me. I should have known my limits on this, and I should have known to not go for it and take that step back and do a drill instead. It's a good learning experience for me, though, because sometimes I realize that I need to go for it. I need to listen to them, and there are other times where I realize, you know what, I gotta prepare a little more for this, you know. And gymnastics is just a point where you gotta feel your way into it and know when it's that point. You gotta know when you're just in your head and you gotta go for it. And sometimes things can be scary, and you also gotta know, hey, like, I need more drills before I do something like this, you know. Whatever you're doing, like all things in life. Sometimes when you're doing gymnastics, you may think you're farther than you really are, and going back to the basics is always helpful. And a step back from what I've learned in all forms of working out is always helpful. And that's what happened. I took a step back from things. I went back to the basics. It has already been working wonders for me. This is Training Like a Gymnast, episode 3.